The rich man's voice cut through the diner like a knife. "Get him out of here. I don't want to watch this disgusting old man eat." The elderly customer's hands trembled as he dropped his fork, tears sliding down his weathered cheeks. Maya's palm connected with the stranger's face before she even realized she was moving. The slap echoed through the restaurant. Everyone froze. But instead of rage, the billionaire smiled and said two words that would change everything. The diner smelled like burnt coffee and broken dreams. Maya wiped down the counter for the third time that hour, her hands raw from the cheap cleaning solution, her feet screaming in shoes held together with duct tape. The clock on the wall said 2:47 p.m. 3 more hours until her shift ended. 3 more hours until she could go home to her daughter, who was waiting with a babysitter Maya couldn't really afford. "Miss. Miss." A sharp voice cut through the quiet afternoon haze. Maya turned to see a woman in designer sunglasses snapping her fingers like she was calling a dog. "This coffee is cold. Bring me another one. Now." Maya forced a smile, the same smile she'd been wearing for 6 years, through every insult, every bad tip, every person who looked right through her like she was invisible. "Of course, ma'am. Right away." She was pouring the fresh coffee when she heard the commotion at table 7. A young man in an expensive suit was standing up, his face twisted with disgust. Everything about him screamed money: the watch that probably cost more than Maya's car, the shoes that gleamed under the fluorescent lights, the way he moved like the world owed him something. Across from him sat an old man, maybe 70, with thin white hair and trembling hands. His shirt was worn but clean, patched at the elbows. He was trying to pick up his fork, but his fingers weren't cooperating. The fork clattered to the floor. "This is disgusting," the young man said loudly. Everyone in the diner turned to look. "I'm trying to eat here, and I have to watch this? Someone get him out of here." The old man's face went red. He bent down slowly, painfully, to reach for the fork. Maya's chest tightened. She knew that look. She'd seen it in the mirror too many times, the shame of not being good enough, of being a burden, of taking up space in a world that didn't want you. "Sir, please," the manager, Tom, hurried over, his voice slick with the fake politeness he saved for people who looked rich. "I'm sure we can move you to another table." "I don't want another table," the young man interrupted. "I want him removed. Look at him. He can barely hold a spoon. It's pathetic. This is supposed to be a respectable establishment." Maya felt something crack inside her chest. She set down the coffee pot. Her hands were shaking, but not from fear. From rage. From every single time someone had made her feel small. From every bill collector who'd called her worthless. From her ex-husband who'd said she'd never amount to anything. From every person who'd ever looked at her uniform and decided she didn't matter. The old man finally got the fork. He sat back up, and Maya saw a tear running down his weathered cheek. He wasn't making a sound. Just sitting there, crying silently while this stranger destroyed him with words. "I said move him." The young man's voice got louder. "Do you people not understand English? Get this disgusting old man away from me before I..." Maya's hand moved before her brain caught up. The slap echoed through the diner like a gunshot. Every conversation stopped. The kitchen went quiet. Even the radio seemed to pause. The young man's head snapped to the side, his perfect hair falling across his forehead, a red mark blooming on his cheek. For a moment, nobody breathed. Maya's palms stung. She could feel every pair of eyes on her. She knew she was fired. She knew Tom would throw her out. She knew her daughter would ask why mommy was home early, and Maya would have to explain that she'd thrown away their livelihood for a stranger. But she couldn't find it in herself to regret it. Not even a little bit. The young man turned back slowly. Maya waited for him to scream, to call the police, to demand she be arrested. Instead, something strange happened. His face changed. The disgust melted away, replaced by something Maya couldn't quite read. His eyes softened. And then, impossibly, he smiled. It wasn't a mean smile. It wasn't mocking. It was genuine, like someone had just given him a gift he'd been waiting his whole life to receive. Finally, he said quietly, his hand touching his red cheek. Real. Maya's anger stuttered. What? He looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Really seeing her. You're real. You actually did that. You didn't calculate, you didn't think about consequences, you didn't wonder what I could do to you. You just reacted. Like a real person. Maya didn't know what to say. Her heart was pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. Tom grabbed her arm. Maya, my office. Sir, I'm so sorry, we'll call the police, we'll? The young man held up his hand. No police. He was still looking at Maya with that strange, intense expression. I'm not pressing charges. But sir, she assaulted you. I provoked her. He sat back down, his eyes never leaving Maya's face. I said terrible things. I deserved it. He turned to the old man, who was watching everything with wide, confused eyes. Sir, I apologize. What I said was cruel and unforgivable. Please, let me buy you lunch. Anything you want. The old man blinked. I don't understand. Neither did Maya. Neither did anyone in the diner. The young man pulled out his wallet and handed the old man what looked like several $100 bills. Please, take it. I'm sorry. Then he looked back at Maya. What's your name? She shouldn't answer. She should walk away. She should go to Tom's office and clean out her locker and figure out how to pay next month's rent. But something in his eyes held her there. Maya. Maya. He said it like he was testing how it felt in his mouth. I'm Daniel. Daniel Cross. And I need to talk to you. Please. 5 minutes. Tom's grip on her arm tightened. Sir, she needs to be. How much does she make in a year? Daniel asked, still not looking away from Maya. Tom stammered. I don't see how that's. Roughly. How much? Maybe 22,000? Daniel pulled out his phone. Maya watched him tap the screen a few times. Her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. She pulled it out with shaking hands. There was a notification from her bank app. A deposit. She opened it and felt the floor drop out from under her. $50,000. What? She whispered. What is this? Your salary, Daniel said simply. For 1 year. Starting now. I'm hiring you. For what? Her voice came out strangled. I don't know yet. He stood up, leaving money on the table for his uneaten meal. But someone who would risk everything to defend a stranger? Someone who still has that much fight left after life has clearly tried to beat it out of her. He smiled again, and this time it was sad. I've been looking for someone like you for a very long time. Maya stood frozen in the diner parking lot, watching Daniel lean against a black car that probably cost more than her apartment building. The November wind bit through her thin uniform, but she barely felt it. Her phone was still in her hand, the number on the screen refusing to make sense no matter how many times she looked at it. $50,000. It had to be a mistake. Or a scam. Or a joke from a rich man who got bored and decided to play with people's lives. You can check, Daniel called out. It's real money. It'll clear. I don't understand. Maya walked toward him because she didn't know what else to do. Inside the diner, she could see Tom watching through the window, his face twisted in confusion and something that looked like jealousy. Why would you do this? Daniel pushed off from the car. In the natural light, Maya could see him more clearly. He was younger than she'd thought, maybe 35. There were shadows under his eyes, like he hadn't slept well in a long time. Can I tell you a story? I'm not getting in that car with you. I wouldn't ask you to. He gestured to a bench outside the diner, the one where Maya sometimes ate her lunch when the weather was nice. They sat down, leaving space between them. Daniel stared at his hands for a long moment before speaking. My father built a tech company from nothing, he said quietly. By the time I was born, we had everything. Money, houses, respect. When he died 3 years ago, I inherited it all. $2 billion. Give or take. He said it like it meant nothing. Like it was a burden instead of a dream. Do you know what happens when you have that much money, Maya? She shook her head. Everyone wants something from you. Everyone. Every smile is calculated. Every laugh is measured. Every friendship comes with an invisible price tag. His voice got hollow. I've had girlfriends who studied my interview responses to know what I wanted to hear. Business partners who manipulated every conversation like a chess game. Family members who suddenly remembered I existed when they needed something. No one just reacts anymore. No one is real. Maya thought about her daughter, about the way she squealed with pure joy over a $2 toy from the thrift store. About her neighbor Mrs. Chen who brought over soup when Maya was sick, expecting nothing back. That sounds lonely. It is. Daniel looked at her. I started doing things to test people. Awful things. I'd insult waiters to see if the person I was with would defend them, or if they'd laugh along to stay on my good side. I'd pretend to be poor to see if anyone would still talk to me. I'd create fake problems to see who would help without knowing there was money involved. He laughed bitterly. Everyone failed. Every single time. Until today. So that old man is my driver's uncle. He's not struggling. He's retired, comfortable. But I knew if I said those things, someone would react. I've been doing this for weeks in different places. He met her eyes. You're the first person who didn't hesitate. You didn't look at my clothes and calculate what I could do to your life. You just saw someone being hurt and you stopped it. That's so rare, Maya. You don't even know how rare that is. Maya felt sick. You used him. You used that sweet old man to prove a point. I did. And I'm not proud of it. But I'm tired of wondering if anyone around me is real. I'm tired of being surrounded by people who see a bank account instead of a person. He leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. I need someone who will tell me the truth. Who will say when I'm wrong. Who won't blow smoke just to keep me happy. Someone who will slap me when I deserve it. You want to hire me to hit you? Maya asked, and despite everything, she almost laughed. I want to hire you to be honest. Daniel turned to face her fully. I need a personal assistant. Someone who will be there for meetings, events, decisions. But more than that, I need someone who will keep me connected to reality. To remind me what matters. To call me out when I'm being an entitled jerk. He paused. The salary is actually $200,000 a year. I just sent you the first quarterly payment. Maya's stomach dropped. That's insane. Is it? I have people who manage my money. People who run my companies. People who organize my calendar. What I don't have is anyone who cares about whether I'm actually living a life worth living. His voice cracked slightly. My father spent his last year surrounded by people, and he died alone anyway. No one at his bedside really knew him. I don't want that. I can't do that. For the first time since he'd smiled at her in the diner, Maya saw him as something other than a rich man playing games. She saw the scared person underneath. The one drowning in money and power and still somehow starving. I have a daughter, Maya said. She's 5. She comes first. Always. Good. Bring her to the office if you need to. I'll hire a nanny. A real one, who actually cares about kids, not just the paycheck. I didn't finish college. Neither did my father. He was smarter than every MBA I've ever met. I don't know anything about tech or business or your world. Perfect. Then you won't be blinded by it. Daniel stood up and offered his hand. I'm not asking you to be fake. I'm asking you to be exactly what you were today. Someone who gives a damn. That's all. Maya looked at his hand. She thought about her apartment with the leaking ceiling. About her daughter's shoes that were too small. About the medication her mother needed that insurance wouldn't cover. About every night she'd cried herself to sleep wondering how she'd make it to the next month. And she thought about the old man's tears, and how she'd moved without thinking, because it was right. She took his hand. One condition. Name it. That old man. Your driver's uncle. I want to meet him for real. Apologize for what happened, even if he knew about it. If you're going to mess with people's emotions as a test, the least you can do is face them after. Daniel's smile was genuine this time, reaching his eyes. See? That's exactly why I need you. I never even thought of that. He squeezed her hand. We'll go today if you want. Maya stood up, her legs still shaky. Through the diner window, she could see Tom frantically gesturing, probably firing her in his mind 50 different ways. She should feel scared. She should feel uncertain. This was crazy. This was a stranger offering her a life she didn't understand. But when she'd slapped Daniel, it wasn't calculation. It was instinct. The same instinct that had kept her daughter fed when the money ran out. The same instinct that made her check on Mrs. Chin during storms. The same instinct that made her human in a world that kept trying to grind that humanity away. Okay, she said. But I'm keeping my diner uniform. To remember. Remember what? Maya looked at the diner, at the life she was leaving behind. That being real is worth more than being safe. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Daniel nodded slowly. You're going to be good at this job, Maya. Better than you know. As they walked to his car, Maya pulled out her phone and called her daughter's babysitter. When the little voice answered, Mommy? Maya felt tears prick her eyes. Hey baby, she said softly. Mommy's coming home early today. And guess what? Tomorrow we're going somewhere new. Together. She didn't know what came next. But for the first time in years, she didn't feel invisible. She felt seen. And maybe, just maybe, that was worth the risk of believing in something impossible. Maya's life changed with one slap. One moment of courage when she chose what was right over what was safe. Daniel found what he'd been searching for, someone real in a world full of fake smiles. But here's what makes you think. How many of us would have done the same thing? How many times have we stayed quiet when we saw someone being treated badly? Maya risked everything, her job, her daughter's future, her safety, for a stranger she didn't even know. And that one choice opened a door she never knew existed. Sometimes the universe rewards courage in the most unexpected ways. Daniel wasn't looking for an employee. He was looking for proof that genuine people still exist. And Maya wasn't looking for a rescue. She was just being herself. That's the real power of this story. What do you think? Was Daniel wrong to test people like that? Would you have taken the job if you were Maya? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear that being real always wins in the end. And subscribe for more incredible true stories that prove good things happen to good people. Sometimes one moment of bravery changes everything. Sometimes standing up is worth the risk. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story.